Today I'm going to show you how to convert footage shot at a standard frame rate into a high-speed frame rate using deep learning. And if you've thought some of my other videos were nerdy when it comes to talking about camera stuff, buckle up. Let's get undone. Gerald Undone. He's crazy. What's happening, everybody? I'm Gerald Undone, and this is the final countdown. So NVIDIA has developed this deep learning interpolation technique called Super SloMo that will convert videos shot at standard frame rates of 24 or 30 frames per second into slow motion capable frame rates like 120 or even 240 frames per second. And shout out to a subscriber, Noel B, for suggesting that I cover this topic. Now I'll warn you right now that this process is a bit more complicated than your typical tutorial, but even if you don't think that this will be applicable to you, I recommend that you stick around and watch this whole video to see the results because some of them are amazing. And just so you know that there's no funny business going on, I'm going to be using stock footage for the test so that the results can be repeated by anyone. And that stock footage is brought to us by today's sponsor, Storyblocks, which is my go-to source for not just stock footage, but also backgrounds, overlays, and even After Effects templates. The interface is clean and the clips are easy to find, and it's a one-time fee at a fair price that gives you access to unlimited downloads, including the 4K footage. And the clips are royalty-free for personal and commercial use, so you can use them as much as you want, wherever you want. So if you're in the need for a solid library of stock footage and effects, head on over to Storyblocks using the link in the description below. Alright, so I've downloaded several different clips from Storyblocks already of various subjects so that we can see how it performs in different scenarios, but first, let me show you how to do it. Now I'm going to put detailed written instructions in the description below as well as show you here visually, but this is going to require two different things to do it yourself. First, you'll need to carry out some Python commands, which means dealing with a little bit of code and installing some software and repositories to go along with that. And two, you'll want a modern NVIDIA graphics card. This technique was built on NVIDIA's CUDA platform, just like you'd use to edit video if you have an NVIDIA GPU. Now you can do it on your CPU alone if you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, but it's so much slower that it's probably not worth it. For example, I converted a 17-second clip in 12 minutes and 51 seconds using CUDA, but when I tried to convert that same clip without using my graphics card, it took 6.5 hours. Alright, so the first step is to install a Python distribution, and for this I recommend Anaconda, which is available for Windows and Mac OS and works really well. Then you'll need to download the actual SuperSloMo repository, which you'll find a link for that, as well as everything else that we talk about in the description below that goes along with each corresponding step. Now it's best to start building a common folder that you can put all of your slow motion required assets inside. For me, I'm just using my Gerald personal folder on my computer, but inside that if I wanted I could put a SuperSloMo folder and then store everything in there. But either way, make sure that the folder and files that you name, that you use a short file name and that you don't put any spaces in there, because later on when we start referencing these things, spaces can cause problems and you don't want it to be so long that you're trying to figure out what exactly you name that folder. So just keep it simple and no spaces. So go ahead and extract that SuperSloMo zip that you would have downloaded the entire repository and extract it into a folder that you've aptly named, maybe just SuperSloMo with no spaces. Now at this stage you're supposed to train the model, which basically means you let it run through a ton of clips so that it learns, what slow motion looks like and what kind of shots you take and how to interpolate all that. But that can take quite a long time, and if you want to skip that step, you can download a pre-trained model that's already been fed a bunch of Adobe 240p footage so it has a rough idea of how to do things. And for all of the tests that I'm doing here, I'm using that same pre-trained model. So I'll put a link to that pre-trained model in the description. Just download that and pop it in the same folder that you just extracted the SuperSloMo repository to, put it right inside that folder. Now you're also going to need ffmpeg, which is what will be handling the video stream. I've put a link to that in the description. Just download that and unzip it again into a simple folder. Just call it ffmpeg. Not too long, no spaces. Keep everything short and sweet and keep them all in a similar parent directory. Okay, so when you have all those things in place, we're ready to launch Anaconda and get started. So we're going to want to use the Anaconda command prompt by clicking on Anaconda and then Anaconda prompt. And then here's where we're going to put in our commands. But we still need to install one more thing, which is the relationship between CUDA and torchvision, which is what's going to be running this interpolation. So there's another link in the description that if you go to, it's for finding the correct installation string that you're going to need based on your computer. So I've got mine up here. The first thing, just choose the stable build and then choose your operating system, whether it's Linux, Mac, or Windows. And then we're going to choose conda for the package. And then the language that we're using is probably going to be Python 3.7 because if you downloaded Anaconda now, you probably use the 3.7 link. And then the CUDA version we want is 9.0. And then we're going to have this command here, and you can just copy this string and then paste that into the Anaconda prompt here. and press enter, and it will download and install the necessary files and runtime environments that you need in order to carry out the actual interpolation that will follow this. Now at this stage, I recommend making an input and output folder in that slow motion directory that you're working on. The input folder is where we're going to put the files that we want to convert into a high-speed frame rate, and the output folder is where we're going to designate for the completed files to end up. Now we're ready to process some clips. So the first thing you got to do is get Anaconda to the directory where your Super Slow Motion folder is stored. And for that, you're going to use the cd command. So type in cd and then type in the folder directory where all of your files that you extracted from that repository are located. And now you can execute your conversion command. Now I've included a sample command in the description below, but you're going to have to take that and change some of the variables. And I recommend doing this in a text editor first, and then copying the completed command into Anaconda and running it from there. That way you don't have to change it within the command prompt. So there's a few variables that you're going to need to change. The first one is you're going to want to put the input folder, which, like we said, we just created an input folder, so it should be relatively easy. So you put that in there, and then also put the file name of the file that you want to convert. Again, it's easier if you make these files small. You don't want it to be some long string that your camera would generate. So say that it's a video of an umbrella, just call it umbrella.mp4 in that folder, and that'll be what we convert. So we can just put it in input/umbrella.mp4. Then we move on to the next thing here. We've got the SF argument. Now this one is going to be the multiplier of how many frames, how much the frame rate is being increased. So let's say that you started with 30 frames a second and you wanted to go up to 120 frames a second. Well, that's 4 times more. So in this case, SF is going to be 4. If you use 24 frames per second and you wanted it to be 240 frames per second, then the SF would be 10, and so on. Now the next thing is the directory for the location of that pre-trained model that we downloaded and stored in that folder. So just need to tell it where that pre-trained model is. And then we have our output FPS. So this one's obviously going to correspond to the multiplier that we just put in. So like I was saying, if you have 30 frames per second, you set an SF of 4, then the output frames per second is going to be 120 frames per second. Just make sure that all the math works out there. But this one now is the target frame rate that you want your video to have when it's done. And then you put the output file name and location. Same thing, I would just keep everything the same, but now make it the output folder. And what I like to do is just keep the file name the same, but then just add a little bit to let me know what the frame rate was. So in the case of that umbrella video, it would now be umbrella120.mp4. So I know that's the converted one, that's 120 frames per second. And then lastly, we have the batch size. Now this part is optional, you don't need to include it, but if you have a graphics card with a lot of VRAM, you can increase the batch size in order to speed up the process. This depends on what resolution you're working in. So for instance, with 4K, I can barely pull off a batch size of 1, which is the smallest size. But if I'm doing 1080p conversions, I can do a batch size of 2, which is faster than if I would have done a batch size of 1. Okay, so once you have that string with all the arguments complete, copy it, paste it in Anaconda, and press enter. And once it's done, you'll now have a video file that has a much higher frame rate, which means you can import it into your video editing software and slow it down accordingly. Now I've run a bunch of these interpolation processes already, so let's jump over to Premiere Pro and I'll show you some of my results. Okay, so let's start off by showing you one that worked really well. This first clip is of these lanterns here, and it's at 30p natively, and it should look something like this. You can see the swinging back and forth. It's pretty smooth for the most part, and we're just kind of lurching forward as we go. Now I've got this clip over here, which was converted to 120p, so that means we'll be able to slow it down to 25%. And let's take a look how it performs. So for this one, I feel like it worked really, really well. And it's probably because everything was in a pattern, things were logical, the lines were congruent, the lanterns were repeated, and I feel like the motion worked really well. This is probably slower than you would need for this movement, but I think that this is an example of one that worked extremely well. Now, let me give you an example of one that didn't really work so well. So here's a clip, it's only like 3 seconds long, of me just unzipping a bag. If we take that one and we slow it down, and you see how my hand kind of turns into this weird water fluidy kind of thing, that's an example of it not working. And my guess as to why this happens is because it's like one object over another object and it moves kind of unpredictably. There's not much of a flow or a pattern to it. My hand's just kind of interrupting the background. It doesn't really work so well in that. And I thought maybe just because of 120p, but it was trained on 240p. So I have a version here that we can slow down to 12.5%. This is a 240p conversion, but you can see that it's the exact same problem. It's just slower now. Now it does get the motion nice and smooth because you can see the way that the bag opens in the middle. It does open with all the frames. It is smooth. It's just glitched right out. And if you want to have an idea what would happen if you chose and used the footage, so we'll use the original clip and slowed it down to 12.5% without using this technique. So this is what would normally happen. You just don't have enough frames, so it only really has 1/8 of the frames that's required, so there's a lot of stuttering action. So when we compare that even to the flawed one, we can see that it is a lot more fluid, and it did a good job, especially with the tags, of giving it a lot more fluid motion. It just kind of got monkeyed up on my fingers. And this happened in a couple other clips as well. This one here is difficult for it because, again, of the sporadic movement and the unpredicted nature. You can see the sparks flying as it's doing the laser cutting. And when we try to slow that one down, now you'll see that same sort of weird watery kind of bubbling effect that happens. It's kind of cool and trippy looking in this case, but it's the same idea. When you have sort of sporadic, unpredicted movement, it doesn't really work that well. All right, so now what about people? So this next example has a person just walking down the road. So this one's shot at 48p, it's 47.95, whatever. So I quadrupled it, so it's 191.81, it's 192 frames per second. I thought that'd be an interesting test. So to see if it can handle, bizarre frame rates. So we're saying that we're gonna slow it down to 25% speed, and let's see how it did. So other than that one little glimpse when it crosses in front of the sun and the flare comes out in that kind of watery effect, most of the walking steps, especially if you look around the shoulders and up, and even the hair toss, I thought were done extremely well. I was really impressed by this. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty great. And if you stare at it close enough, you can see a little bit of glitches in the dress, but even still, look at how well the dress is performing considering the way that it's moving. This was a complete success. As soon as you get past that first bit of flare, I thought it was great. I was really amazed by this result. I've got a clip here at 30 frames per second, and it's a person snowboarding, and I'm curious to see what would happen with the person and also what would happen to the snow and the trees and everything. It's a really action-intense, dynamic shot, but we're following a subject smoothly just like we did with that person down the road. And let's see what happens here. So you'll notice that the snow is rippling like waves, which is hilarious. It looks really cool and trippy, but it's obviously not what you're going for. But the person is being tracked really well, and their fluidity is fine. And I see even the snowboard and a lot of the spray from the snow is working out. Just the rest of the terrain is like wobbling like water, and it's crazy. But again, the trees did really well as well. So I think that's something to know. The road, if the path that the person is walking on is flat, then it's okay. But if the path is moving like that and it's got a lot of texture, it seems to have issues with it. It seems to want to treat everything like water. So what happens if we give it some water? And this is where I find that this interpolation is the most impressive. And I also did one that was already in slow motion to see what if you took a clip that was slow motion, can you slow it down even further? And so here's a, half speed clip that I downloaded from Storyblocks of some water droplets hitting, and it's already got that really flowy aspect to it. The original clip here was at 29.97, obviously slowed down from probably 60p already. So I took that clip and I bumped it back up to 60p so that we could slow it down another 50%. So let's take it and put it back down to another 50% now, and we'll see how it does. And as you can see, in my opinion, it's pretty much flawless. This technique seems to just love water. It treats everything like water, apparently even Snow Hill. But yeah, I don't see any issues at all. And with the big splash that I think is coming down now, when you see the droplets come up, it's pretty much perfect. So you can still apply it to footage that was already slowed down. That's no problem. And if you apply it to anything with water, this would make for the best tech demo for it, doing water, because you can't tell when it does that weird ripply effect that it does over motion. It just seems right because you're using it on water. So overall, I'm really impressed by this. Sure, it didn't work with every clip that we put into it, but considering that it's essentially free, as long as you're willing to put the time in, and in some cases worked extremely well, I'd say that this is a great little tool to have for when you need it, as long as you have a graphics card that's up to the task. So you want to turn your clips into super slow motion? It's really easy. All you have to do is install a Python distribution. I recommend Anaconda. And you'll need to download SuperSloMo repository, start building a common folder, slow motion required assets, SuperSloMo folder, store everything in there, no spaces. And extract that SuperSloMo zip, train the model. Also going to need ffmpeg and unzip it again, launch Anaconda and get started. Use the Anaconda command prompt, CUDA and torchvision interpolation. Conda, Python 3.7, runtime environments, input and output folder, high speed frame rate. Now we're ready to process some clips. Get Anaconda to the directory, type in CD, extract it from that repository. Now you can execute your conversion command. Change some of the variables. Umbrella.mp4, multiplier, 30 frames a second, 120 frames a second, 4 times more. And just make sure that all the math works out there. Graphics card with a lot of VRAM, copy it, paste it in Anaconda, and press enter. But that's going to be it for me. I hope you found this video helpful or at least entertaining, and if you did, make sure you leave the old thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But if you did not find this video helpful or entertaining, feel free to hit the dislike button twice. Alright, I'm done.